Hey everybody, it's episode 9 of Excuse Factory. We are returning with my good friend Dre. He's going to entertain us some more. We're going to talk more about porno. I think we're going to delve into some World War II stuff. It's going to be a little loosey-goosey, but I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be just as banging as the last episode. What do you say to that, my man?
Yeah, man. I think you should call it Sex, Cats, and Nazis.
Sex, cats, and Nazis. Another shout out to the No Means No.
Though I don't have a cat, so I can't really talk about cats.
But every day you could probably say that you've started to.
Exactly. So, yo, what's up, man? So yeah, we were talking about porno last episode.
Well,
and
we were, man. And in real time, that was 10 minutes ago. But for the listeners, they've had some time to digest the seedy material. They've had some time to butt their cigarettes out and air out their trench coats, so I think they're ready for another go.
yeah, there's lots of material that's kind of greasy, but there's a lot of like historical stuff that's pretty cool too. Tons of newsreels and like tons of home movies and just tons of feature films and this and that. So sometimes the stuff is like misidentified, or they don't know what they really have, or it hasn't really been looked at. So one case was pretty cool. You get to do like detective work, right? Sometimes where you're like, what is this? What does that mean? And you start, thanks to
if you can hear me, wait. Sorry, my Wi-Fi was fucking up. Okay.
Good.
Let's walk it back. Okay, now I can hear you again. Sorry.
Okay. So So I was talking about like, we've got old films and stuff and recordings, and sometimes they're not really clearly identified or they're misidentified, and
Gotcha.
You have to do detective work. Well, you don't have to, but it's fun, and it gets really interesting. So we had this one roll of 35mm nitrate, which is the flammable film, and it was misidentified as like some hockey game between two countries when it was actually a hockey game between England and I don't remember what the other team was, but it was at the Olympics that they had in Nazi Germany. So you start watching this and you're like, oh, there's these British hockey players. It's like the 30s. They're wearing their hockey sweaters and doing whatever, and then they like goes up to the grandstand and it's like there's Hitler. There's like Martin Bormann and like Albert Speer and Joseph Goebbels and stuff, and like I think it's a unique item. Like this is really cool, And you're watching it and you're like, oh, my history boner is just engorged right now. And anyway, start watching it and it goes to the end, and the British team all line up to the grandstand, and they all give the Hitler salute. They all give like the Nazi salute to the grandstand and like Hitler and everything like that. It's like, oh man.
Okay, so I'm going to take you out of the memory for a sec, because the average Excuse Factory listener is not as deeply invested in history as you, and like I'm just like casual. So that Olympics, what year would that have been?
So that was when they did the Summer and Winter Olympics in the same year, right? I want to say 36. I will Google it.
Okay, so it was before World War II broke out, though. Like, it was beginning of the... Like, had Hitler consolidated power, you took over the...
Yeah, because that was like 32, 33.
Parliament.
They burned the Reichstag down in like 33. Okay. So Hitler's like fully in control. That's the one where in the summer Jesse Owens, the black American sprinter, won all that stuff. And
right.
Yeah, so like...
So this was a normal Olympics, so like the world wasn't on edge at that point. It wasn't conflict mode. I know the war didn't break out until 39.
Yeah. So like I don't know if they'd passed the Nuremberg laws yet, which were the laws that restricted Jewish people from basically doing anything. But I don't think Hitler had taken over, annexed Czechoslovakia or anything yet, or I don't think he'd done any of that. But like they were.
Like he had just said some stuff that was kind of... there were a lot of people that early on were like, ooh, this... I don't like the direction this is going, but it wasn't a full-blown, like, depression, from what I recall learning. Shit. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
It wasn't the full blown, like from my understanding. What I was saying was like, I think some people had suspected that, like, not. I guess I'm talking non-Germans, where had their doubts about what he was going to do, and they were kind of weary of it. But it wasn't like the full blown. Yeah, like the word Nazi back then doesn't have the full weight of what it has now. Obviously, this was pre-Holocaust.
Yeah.
Anyway, you do the talking.
No,
This
no,
is your
no.
wheelhouse, man.
Yeah, so this was like the last Olympics before the
But I
war,
just
and
okay, yeah,
yeah, so like Hitler was fully in power, and it was, they'd had those big Nuremberg, those big rallies and everything that you always see when they talk about like Nazis and how like intense they were. The
yeah,
women crying when they see him and stuff. Like he was totally in that rock star era. So yeah, but it was just interesting to see the way the British players are like just, I guess they were just showing respect to the host, which is at the
yeah.
time would make sense,
But
but
it's
like looking from like our historical perspective, it's like, oh man. You're giving the salute to the
well,
Fuhrer.
it's such a chilling foreshadowing. Like, all it would take is just somebody just to cap him, take him out ahead of the time, and like I wouldn't exist, you wouldn't exist, well, just the world would be such a strange and different place. Yeah, I'm interested in that stuff too.
Yeah.
But that must have been cool finding that. So like in finding that, did you have to alert your superiors? Hey, like check this out. Like, was there any like significance more than just your interest in
Well,
finding that
I
material?
basically I updated the description, so if people from the outside are like looking through the database, they can see, like, I wrote
Yeah.
up a description of what the material actually was. So if someone was
Okay,
like,
like an
they've done a few
annotation.
big documentaries on like different Olympic games. So if someone wanted to make a
Right.
documentary about that Olympics, I'm sure there's been many made, but they wanted to make one, they'd be like, oh, there's that resource there. Like a lot of times we'll get big
Yeah.
orders on from producers making documentaries. I won't do specific names of
Mm-hmm.
ones, but there's been some pretty big ones
No,
related
no.
to the big historical events and so on and so forth. So people basically want all this footage so that they can put together, their archival footage plus talking heads documentary. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Nice. Oh man. Yeah, you have a cool job, for sure. 100%.
a lot of old
Um,
hockey games,
what
obviously,
else?
because we're in Canada. They were rough back in the day too, man.
Yeah.
Like, hockey was violent back
Well,
then.
I'm not big on hockey, but even in the '90s, hockey was like I remember going to OHL games and the fights were nuts. Like you'd see blood, like that's where you see that blood kind of bounces on the ice and freezes pretty quick,
Yeah, I went to a
and like
fight and a hockey game
a
broke
lot of
out.
guys didn't have
Yeah.
teeth. Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's just like a little bit of sports, but it was a spectacle. It was interesting. I'm not a sports fan, but I would be interested from an academic perspective looking at old hockey because like they didn't wear the full range of protective gear and
That's it. They were just
you know
hammering each
like
other,
well,
and then like the
which
guys were
is
wearing like nothing basically, right? So
yeah basically just
yeah,
clothes.
like a big like wool sweater or something, but big musty old sweater.
uh, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, sports and war is basically what we laugh about, and that's what people always want to see. Lots of
Oh,
old
of
war
course.
stuff and lots of old sports stuff, but sometimes we get. I don't get quite the celebrity encounters as Jordo does, but sometimes we get celebrities at work, which is pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Um, but
Tell
sometimes
me
they're
about
like, like pseudo celebrities, right? So, uh,
celebrities in their mind, but they overestimate maybe their worth or their impact.
I don't know about that. It's just, it's, sometimes things are more high profile for the people trying to like play it up, who are like, oh, this is really
Uh,
important because this people, right? So this, this was years ago, but at one point they got a bunch of stuff from the band Trooper, you know, the Canadian band.
Of course.
So they were there.
Didn't they do Boys in the white sports car?
No, I think that's Loverboy.
Buzz? You sure? I thought Dirty Bird covered Boys in the White Sports Car. We're not going to research this. We're not a research podcast.
No, I'm staying away from Google. Fuck it. Yeah, I don't think it was Trooper, though. That reminds me...
I'm not... I mean, we agree that Raise a Little Hell is what we know about Trooper at this point.
Yeah, and Here for a Good Time. Not a long time. So
Oh, that's what that... Okay, go ahead.
The little segue or tangent to friggin' Dirty Bird, though. I remember the one time I saw Dirty Bird, I was like 16 in high school, and I went to Toronto to see them at the dirty old El Macombo. And the singer, like, at one point halfway through the set, whipped down his pants and started jerking off with a slice of pizza from the pizza next door.
Did he have a boner?
I don't remember if he had a hard-on. That is a detail I don't remember, but I remember there was pizza, and I was like 16, and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Well, for a guy who goes by Uncle Anus, and rest in peace, Uncle Anus fucking died, I think maybe within the last 5 years. I could be wrong.
I thought he drank himself to death, basically.
Yeah, drink or drugs is kind of...
I think he Jeff Hanneman himself.
There's a lot of foreshadowing in there. Yeah, he Jeff Hanneman. There wasn't... I remember when, like, we were reading, like, he got bit by a spider, and, like, oh, he died from a spider? That's pretty metal. But then, like, you find out, no, like, he had cirrhosis from, you know, years of crushing beers and whatnot.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I basically read up on it, and, like, he got the spider bite, and then he didn't want to do the rehab to get his arm better. So he didn't get any better, and so we couldn't really play. Yeah. And then basically the band continued with Mr. Holt there from Exodus, and so basically he just drank himself to death. Like, he was always a heavy drinker, but he just went full, like, you know, totally degenerate alcoholic. Sadness.
See, I didn't really read up on that, and that's a shame, because he was like one of the best parts of the band. Like, he brought that hardcore punk knowledge and history and kind of injected that. I mean, you know, arguably he's the reason they were such a great band. Or they went in because when they started off, they were almost like, they were thrashy, but it was like power metal and kind of like mystical, weird, like fantasy lyrics. And then after Hell Awaits, I mean, Hell Awaits is still one of my favorite records, but when they did Rain and Blood and other stuff, you know, they trimmed the shit down and tightened it up and made it an insane burst of energy.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Jeff Hanneman, I think Slayer would have just been another generic metal band.
Yeah, they'd be like, you know, there's a lot of bands from that geographical area, like the Bay Area, and
a lot of it hasn't aged well because it's just
that are good, but they just the lyrics and the vocals weren't that great, and like the music was cool, but the singing was kind of in that anthraxy, like clean operatic. I don't know. I don't like that shit as much as just the shout.
Yeah, it doesn't grab me the same way. I think it's because there's that punk energy.
No, I mean, yeah, because say what you like about punk, but the best of it, they know when to stop. Like, they don't play endless solos, and it's short and to the point. They don't repeat a lot of choruses. It's just pretty straightforward. If you like it or don't, at least you're gonna know within a minute and a half before the song is done.
Yeah,
or less.
Yeah, I don't like the song. It's okay. It's done in like 2 minutes. So.
Yeah. Because I mean, back to being an old man yelling at a cloud, when you had to fucking hit fast forward on a tape deck to get through a track. Where if you didn't have, like, I have a decent, actually the one head broke on it, but I had a tape deck. You could hit skip and it would like fast forward, skip to the next track.
I had one of
And had
those,
the
like a
turbo
fancy
fast forward.
Walkman that did that. It was like the super high end one that I had in high school, and it was this.
I still, I think I have one like that too. I still have it. I just don't use it because it's fucking huge, and it takes like I think 3 or 4 batteries.
Mine was like a
It's
chrome
just
plated Panasonic, which is actually it was pretty small too. Like I could fit it in my pocket pretty well. I didn't have to like, you know, attach it to my hip or something, like one of those big yellow Walkmans. Like hit up it on your hip
yeah.
like a '90s pager that you're a drug dealer.
That's what I had, the Sony, but it had the digital like one button that you could. It was almost like a soft rubbery toggle,
Hmm.
so you just turn, kind of steer it towards the play, rewind, or fast forward or whatever. And it had the auto thing, so you didn't have to flip the tape, which was super cool too.
So anyway, back to Trooper. I got kind of distracted.
Yeah, yeah, no, good tangent though, good tangent. It's
Any
back to
chance I can
Trooper.
talk about
This is our
Slayer, it just
focus.
seems to overtake me. But so Trooper
I know
was
we should do a Slayer
oh,
episode.
for sure. So Trooper was at my work, and at one point, the manager comes by, or my manager comes by, and they're saying like, yeah, so Trooper is here. They're doing like a meet and greet if anyone wants to, come meet the band and say hi or whatever. And
Yeah.
no one went. I was like,
Uh, you know what? I think I would go. I would like quickly look at their Wikipedia page, so I could drop some gems. And be like, yeah, I really like when you did this track, or maybe not. I don't know. It could be awkward.
yeah, I mean, it was like it's a band, and I was kind of like, I have other stuff I needed to do. I'm sure I had like, I don't know. Anyway, I was just kind of like, it was just hilarious because it's like, yeah, I'll probably see them at the local fair this year anyway, so it's fine. But you got to think, guys like that, like
Yeah.
that's all they know is touring. So even if you're just, like a
Well,
shadow of
yeah,
what you used to
they're
be,
road
yeah,
dogs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's how they make their money because they're not making it from like Spotify or album sales at this point. But it gets the old aging dude aging like dad rock. It's funny that that's dad rock now, but they go out and pound a few beers and remember the time they finger banged someone in the back of a car listening to that, and that's what that represents, I
back of
guess.
the bright red sports car. Um,
Totally.
yeah. Anyway, it's just funny. It's like Trooper. I don't know. It wasn't
Everybody,
like a
Trooper's
greasy
going to be
celebrity
here.
encounter like Jordo, but it was just hilarious because it's like, these totally
If
old rocker dudes just like, yeah, sorry, I'm busy. I don't want to meet and greet you.
if they're like if they're like, yeah, well,
I don't
like Neil
care.
Young is here and he's looking for
It's like
videos
celebrities are celebrities. I don't
on
know.
toy trains.
I don't know. To me, it's weird. Just
Yeah,
like,
I'm not big on. I don't like meeting famous people either. Like I remember
yeah,
going to Warped Tour as a teenager and seeing Rancid, and I was like worshipped Rancid, and I got in line to sign a CD, and Lars was there, and then I was like, it was my turn, and I'm like, we kind of made eye contact, and I'm like, I'm good, and I just walked away. I was like, I don't really want to meet you. I don't want to talk to you, but like
I
I
met.
don't have anything to say to you. You're just putting the time in.
Yeah, you're gonna love this. It's your favorite band. I met Foo Fighters like when I was
Oh.
17. They had like a meet and greet. They played this show in Ottawa, and they were like the third band on
Yeah.
the bill. It was like Sum 41 opened, and then like another band, and then Foo Fighters. And so I go to the meet and greet, and I'm like, 16, 17-year-old me, and I go to Dave Grohl, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I heard you have a homemade Black Flag tattoo. And he was like, oh yeah, and he like, up on the sleeve, he's got one of those tattoos that you.
Didn't it only have 3 bars?
There's something like that. It was like, like it was like worse than the prison tat, like because like it was just something that he'd totally probably done himself when he was like 15 or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah, like, and he did the stick and poke. Like, he wouldn't have been working with a tattoo gun or anything like
no,
that.
no. So I'm like, oh, cool. And he's like, so do you want an autograph or something? Like, no, I'm good, thanks, and I just walked away. That's such a shit. It's so funny.
You know what? Quick, quick food tangent. Because when me and Tyler started the podcast, I was gonna do a whole fuck Foo Fighters, like now, not fuck
Like fuck what they've become, because they are the new dad rock.
They are. It's not even like it's bad music. It's just it's so safe. It's like reading a horoscope or a fortune cookie. It could apply to anyone. It just doesn't have like I remember when I scrapped our first episode, but I did a 20-minute fucking monologue with Tyler going, okay, like at first being engaged, then okay.
Are you still talking about how much you hate Foo Fighters?
But it was more like I was trying to say how much I respected him as a musician and his importance in things that I liked that he did, but it was just ended up being a thing, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna delete it. Basically, I should have just been like, first 2 records they did, banging, and then the odd song here and there, and then after that,
first 3
like,
records.
Dude, you're so cool. I didn't like the third one as much.
Yeah, I saw them on the tour for the third
though,
record. It's not a bad record.
Well, yeah. So for you, it would be different. There's tracks on that record that I like, but I remember hearing it and I was like, they definitely toned down the punk feel. Which I learned was like, oh, this is basically like Husker Du, but good production values, like more getting to the point, songwriting structures, and pretty awesome. But anyway, hey man, Dave Grohl, I'm not gonna try to take it away from anyone. I just think, dude, you're too safe. You should do something like, I don't know, inspired.
Well, remember he did that Probot thing?
I was so stoked
for the
concept of it. It didn't really hit. I'm like, because I remember reading, and through the magic of YouTube, I've now found all the stuff he did when he was a teenager before Foo Fighters.
Like Scream.
And he's before Scream. He had he was in a band called Mission Impossible. They were like 15, and it's straight like thrash, hardcore punk. But like the production is terrible because it was probably just straight to cassette, like no production at all. But it was like hardcore, so I'm like, oh, if he could play that, like, and when he was in Scream, he was playing pretty heavy stuff. So I'm like, man, that'd be so killer if he played straight thrash and death metal, because he could totally do it. He's a good drummer, but he didn't. It was just like mid-pace kind of groove metal. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I've paid pretty little attention to the Foo Fighters music in the past like 15 years, other than what I hear on like corporate radio. But
totally,
all the documentaries he's done recently have given me, not newfound, but like, oh yeah, you're still relevant, because he did all that documentary about that recording studio in LA.
I'm gonna give him props for that. I didn't watch that episode, but I don't know if it was an HBO series, but the DC episode.
He did that.
Highways or something.
He did that whole series when they were making that album, but he did a separate one. I'm trying to remember the name of the studio. It was like Fleetwood Mac made Rumors there, and all these other bands.
Yeah.
And then he was a big part of that Lemmy documentary too.
Yes, he was, and that was amazing. For me, I think it's just like an anger that. It's like if you have a friend who used to be cool, but you're like, "What are you doing?" Like, I don't know. I don't want to repeat the same thing that I did in the episode I deleted, but
yeah.
It's like it's a love-hate thing. It's like, man, I love some of the stuff you do, but the other stuff, I'm just like, you're already rich. You don't have to compromise anymore, man. Why don't you try to push the envelope a little bit?
I think he's just too old to give a shit about that.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
I wanted you to get your hater on.
He doesn't have anything to. The problem is he doesn't have anything to prove. He doesn't have anything to prove anymore. For
he's
me,
like the Jay-Z of rock.
I have so many things I want to. Yeah, because I did talk about Jay-Z, because Jay-Z used to have a lot of passion. You could hear it in his music, and even he was never he never lied about his mission to become fucking rich and famous doing what he's doing. But he would always work with a good producer on a couple tracks on an album. Like, yeah, you're still a killer MC. And then I think when he did the Blueprint, he was like, yeah, you know what, I am actually a good rapper, and he threw it in everybody's faces. So, but like now he's just bored. I think he's more interested in like exploring different businesses, and like that's the problem with success is it takes you once you've kind of like look at why Outkast quit. Like Andre 3000, I read in interviews, he's like he's like, it sounds arrogant, but like nobody can challenge me on the mic, and I kind of feel like I hit the wall of what I could do as an MC. So now I want to explore my muse, but in different, I want to explore it in fashion, or like his whole, I'm going to try to be Prince and, not quite succeed. You could just listen to Prince.
It's hard to know how, when to kind of like hang up your skates with stuff like that though, because a lot of guys don't, and they just keep going, and it's just like
they don't, and the money's coming in, and they've got all these people that are like peripheral. They have jobs because so and so is making an album, so of course they're going to be like, yeah, that's a great record, get out there and you're doing great work. Whereas like if they have a best friend from back home or something, like, man, I heard that record, that shit was whack. But they may not tell them that.
They should go on the internet and find out how everyone thinks they suck.
I know. I think I would totally read my reviews if I was at a point where people are actually talking about my shit online. But you know what? I would love to sell out in a heartbeat. And then I'd be like, look, guys, if you want to, for the diehards, here you can check me out from the year 20 whatever to 20 whatever. And then for the rest of you, you can follow me and help me get richer. I would totally do it.
You almost need like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing where you're like, Dr. Jekyll was like the commercial face, and then you had a pseudonym. You just had a pseudonym that you made like raging thrash or like just extreme like anal cunt type music.
There are examples of that. I'm drawing a blank right now because I'm on the spot, but there are artists that are that straddle the both worlds for sure. The extreme. I'm totally blanking. I think it was like I don't know. Anyway.
The only thing I can think of is like Garth Brooks did some like glam album or something. I don't know why I know that.
Chris Gaines.
Yes.
It was, I think it was a Life and Time. I remember
How do we know that?
I saw it and I thought it was Trent Reznor.
I know that.
Well, you worked in a record store though, so you like, and it had a very distinct album cover. I can picture it. It's him like with eye makeup.
Yeah, it's like,
or maybe it was just
it's like lighting. A monochrome picture or something.
He looked kind of like a proto, like late goth, early emo kid. I've never heard a single note of the music he did on that project, but I know it flopped. Like a lot of country fans were bummed out.
I think that's what he originally wanted to do with his career, and then it just didn't work, and he did his Garth Brooks stuff, whatever that is. I've heard like 2 Garth Brooks songs in my life.
Yeah. Give me 2 pina coladas. There's also, well, I mean, this isn't like the same, but like Miles Davis, who had like, critically acclaimed for doing like changing music a bunch of times, but a lot of those changes, he lost a lot of fucking people when he went fusion, went electric. People are like, what the fuck is this? Which even to this day, I think it's still kind of jarring to hear some of the music, because it's just they're riding one chord and it's like a 20-minute jam,
which is incredible.
But it's more about the beat and the mood. Yeah, I mean, I fucking don't really like jam bands as much as I did in my early 20s, but I still can return to that stuff, and like, yes, it explores and rambles, but it actually goes places. It's not just okay, now the guitar solo, here's 10 minutes of fucking Trey Anastasio being a wiener.
Fish. Ugh.
Being a ginger.
For people, fans are so funny.
I had an embarrassing Fish period.
Fans are so funny, like, of music. Everyone wants, like, oh, I really like that album, so now I want everything to be the same. Like, so many people want their bands to be like AC/DC, where like every fucking album is the same for like 50 years, right? It's like an artist does like
and I get that. Yeah, I get it, but I'm not like that. I know you're not either. But it's like if you bought like, let's talk like ketchup. You buy a bottle of ketchup if that's what you want. You don't want to be surprised by the flavor of ketchup, but that's different. That's a food.
yeah.
Like music is, there's so endless possibilities. I think early on when you're trying to establish a brand, maybe like ride a style for a couple of years, but it's exciting to follow someone progress. Like look at Outkast. Before, other than the last, like after Stankonia, I lost interest.
Speakerbox or whatever that double album was had some decent stuff on
it. Had moments. It just needed editing. Even the Princey shit that Three Stacks was doing, some of it was pretty good.
The double album should have been a single album.
I mean, Big Boy is like...
Yeah.
It should have. They should have just been like, the first half of the single is Dre, the other half is Big Boy. I mean, but the fact that they changed a lot, though, just between all their albums leading up to that, the style.
Oh, for sure.
But but they were taking chances because at the time, like, nobody was really making music like that. Hip hop. Well, we could do a whole hip hop podcast.
Oh,
We're
for
not
sure.
gonna go down that wormhole.
That's why I like Ty Segall. I don't know if you know him. He's like a garage psych punk type artist.
Dude, how could you I am impressed that you can keep up with that guy. His discography is like... how long has he been, like, on the...
He's been on my radar for like the past 8 years, but I think his first album came out like maybe 10 years ago, or like the first like Ty Segall album. But, like, so he puts out a Ty Segall album once a year, at least, and then like 3 side project albums.
He's already like Rush. Yeah, he's more prolific probably than Rush. He's almost like Frank Zappa in terms of how many albums he's dropped, and it's a very concentrated period.
It reminds me of Madlib when he was like in his really amazing phase, where it was just non-stop music, and all of it was so good.
And I know, where the hell is Madlib now?
He doesn't even do hip hop anymore. Did you see that Stones Throw Records documentary? He kind of just...
No, I should check that out. Was it good?
Yeah, it's called Our Vinyl Weighs a Ton. And it talks about... There's one part where they talk about how like everyone told them not to put out the J Dilla Donuts album. They're like, this album is like instrumentals, and like, what are you doing? Like, this album is gonna... Like, they really took a chance on that. Like, they didn't have a lot of money, and everyone told them it was the wrong idea. And I mean... They were so wrong, but like at the time...
That's the most consistent Dilla, like, solo kind of just beats thing that he's done. Because some of Dilla was brilliant, but some of his shit, he was prolific, so not all of it was banging. Some of it was just like, okay, like, your beat's slamming, but the rapper you're working with is...
Or a lot of it just sounds too much like demo tracks. Which a lot of it was. They were just like, sketches.
Well, because he fucking died before... he could really... I mean, he was on award-winning stuff, but no, you were saying about Madlib, like what the hell happened? Because he was super prolific, and he never really made any bad music, as far as I remember.
No, but it just... Maybe I was following him a lot more, like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, no, it's it's exciting when people are just constantly doing new things and pushing the envelope, and like David Bowie was always doing something different, and no one hated him for that. But
no, and I mean, he might have lost some people are only like, I only like the psychedelic kind of era. But I think like that Ty Segall guy, I'm like, where do you even... You need one of those, like, find a Reddit that's like, where to start, and then go from there, because I don't think... To truly appreciate someone who changes so much, I don't think you can just casually be like, yeah, I heard one album and I thought it sucked. Like, because it might not be for you, that kind of scenario. Because I remember I listened to it, I'm like, I'm not in the mode where I wanted to. I don't think I felt like listening to Rocky stuff. So I was like, I like what he's done here, but I threw him on like I have this list of things that I need to revisit that I keep on my phone, and he's on my list. So I'm gonna go back to him at some point. But I like the Manipulator album was the one I think you showed me, and I put that on. I liked it. I mean,
Yeah, Manipulator is amazing.
I can understand being prolific making beats because you're inspired by the stuff, the content you're finding, and you find new ways to put together. But just to write songs, that many songs, like, I mean, songs don't come from nowhere. They come from inspiration and of listening to other stuff. But that's got to take a lot of work.
Oh,
I wonder if he does drugs. I feel like somebody who is that prolific is not fucking blowing 8 balls and banging hookers and eating fast food all the time.
no, I mean, look at Mike Patton, right?
Like very driven.
Like Mike Patton doesn't do drugs or drink.
Yeah.
And like that guy, he's constantly doing something different. Like he did an entire album of like Italian like pop music.
And he's in good shape. He takes care of himself, and that's why his output is still good. It's not just like trying to recapture a feeling from like 20 or 30 years ago. I'm still jazzed about the stuff he did with is it Phantoma?
Did you hear the one he did with I think it's called Dead Cross? Came out last year.
Yes,
It was with Lombardo and the guys from I don't remember the name of the band. It's a band I didn't know. The Locust. It was pretty.
Yeah, I tweeted it out on @Slime Church. I found the video. It was amazing. It was like animated. It was like fucking almost like DRI, but quirkier.
But less quirky than like
hardcore.
Phantomas was. Because like Phantomas is like super
Phantomas
like
was
challenging. Yeah.
Well, the album they did that was like mostly music or movie soundtracks.
The director's cut
covers. That was accessible, but they did an album that was I don't remember the title, but I've only listened to it maybe 3 times, and it was just he used a lot of cartoon, like vintage, like 50s or earlier cartoon type soundtrack or sound effects in it. And it was just like little bursts of like blast beats, and I don't know. It was almost like if I think I'm more of a Zappa fan than you, but like the Uncle Meat album.
Yeah.
He did a lot of tape loop experiment shit on it. It was fucking bizarre.
That Phantomas album is like
shit like that. It wasn't like flowing.
The songs are like a minute or 2 minutes, and it's just totally.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of one riff from a song because it's
chaotic.
so experimental and challenging, and it's like. Yeah, that's not really what I'm into, but then he'll go do all these other albums that I'm really into, and it's like, well, just keep doing music.
Yeah, the Tomahawk stuff was good. I didn't go deep on it, but obviously Faith No More was good.
Tomahawk, I probably like the most.
I'm not a big Dillinger. I'm not. Yeah, that one was good. I think I need to revisit, but I'm not a Dillinger Escape Plan guy. But the EP he did with them, I think that was their best shit because it was fucking just that manic like mathcore grind stuff with him on the mic. If they just had him on the mic, I think they would be a way cooler band instead of the non like zero dynamics like shouting that they do, which I don't like at all.
Yeah, they did that Aphex cover to went on
I
that
love
album.
shouting in music.
Yeah.
Oh, they covered Aphex.
Come to Daddy, I think, is on that. That's a Aphex Twin song.
Oh, which is bizarre. Like, how do you approach covering Aphex Twin?
And that song is
That's
pretty
another
heavy.
guy who, yeah. Well, I think that's why I was drawn to them because I'm like, house music to me always just represented something like not macho, which I kind of compensate for being a wuss in real life by being into macho like books, movies, music, and whatnot.
Yeah.
And fucking like Aphex Twin is another like he is
Richard not James house music, dude. He's not house music.
No, not at all, and it's not accessible. I didn't really like the last album he did. I thought it was just kind of boring. Same with Boards of Canada. Like two of my favorite electro kind of music people.
He does like ambient, pure ambient stuff from time to time. But house music reminds
which I don't
me,
mind, but
like house music to me is like the shit they play at some fucking martini lounge.
Yeah, or like you go to get your hair cut in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
Or you're getting like aroma. Not that I've ever done it, but you're getting aromatherapy in the '90s.
Or you're getting your like, tips frosted.
Running the session. Yeah, I was about to say frosted tips have to be a factor in there, and they're the people who don't have croutons in their salad. But because they're fattening. But quick Richard James sidebar. He had this series called Analord, which when you read it wrong, it looks like Anal Lord, but it's that is my favorite shit that he did, and it's just his kind of weird, challenging beats and whatever electro music. This had more of almost like a hip hop feel, like that African Bambaataa, that weird like sci-fi, but it was all analog synthesizers and drum machines. There was no computer fuckery. Not that wrecks the project, but it all kind of had the same sonic quality of like maybe not Thriller, but that same like the way the drums pop or the 808s pop, that same like reverb, compression, gating that they use on it. That's my favorite shit because like you had more. It was almost like Herbie Hancock in terms of the way the melodies would develop and the themes, and like the dude is he's a jazz wizard in his own right without being. But it's not like noodling because you have to compose all that shit. He's not. I don't think he was improvising any of it.
Yeah, I don't know what his background is, if he's like a professionally trained musician or whatever.
What? I think he started in the late '80s, so
I think he did.
He must know how to play piano to be able to put stuff together like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, I think that
or to competently work a keyboard.
Yeah, in order to bend the rules, you have to know the rules, kind of.
For sure.
So. Yeah, I think that.
But this is the
I said I think that Drugs. You know that Drugs album that he did? It's like a double album.
Yes.
I think that was kind of like a William Burroughs thing where he kind of took stuff and like cut it up. Just kind of. He used some kind of system that just kind of like broke things apart and reorganized them, and not in a way that was like consciously done, but in a way that was just kind of like
intuitive.
Anyway.
Or like basically taking your music you've already created and reimagine. You're like, oh, now I hear it and it's not the way it was designed, and like now let's put it together. I mean, that's fucking ballsy. That's difficult because like any beats that I've made, some of it you kind of zone out when you're doing it, but you're like, okay, I deliberately want to have, like if I'm doing a beat where ideally somebody's gonna rap over it, it's like, okay, this is the hook, this is the verse kind of thing. But that, like, the stuff he had on the Drugs album was definitely not the free flow, or not the conventional 16 bars here, 16 bars there kind of structure. But man, it's good having you on the show. It makes me almost want to just do a music podcast, but I think I would be even more obscure and alienating myself from regular people.
Well, I hope I've.
But
I hope I've been edutaining.
I think so. Like a friend of my wife's family, and my friend too, he was saying like one of the earlier episodes we did on the show, where I was just talking like I think I talked about Doom for a bit. And he went and checked the albums out. So I mean, hell, if we can name drop a few musical gems and people check it out, that's great. Because whatever we're recommending is better than the show. But hey, this has been a pretty good episode. We're over our half hour, but did you have any more sleaze or World War II stuff you wanted to touch on?
Oh, more sleaze. There's always good sleaze, but I think those were the best ones. I think, the
Sweet.
creme of the cum, I guess.
That was like concentrated nut. But I think we've done good work today. I would love to give you a plug, but you're a man of mystery, and you're not really a social media guy. But you look in the shadows. If you get a whiff of kind of cheap cologne and cigarettes, it could be Dre.
Yep. Send me
You
your
don't smoke or
Bitcoin
wear
and your
cologne.
nudes
Your
to
Bitcoin and your
Erock's
nudes.
email.
Yes. Yeah, if anybody wants to, I can pass this along to Dre in real life. My email is start2ooze@gmail.com. Everything makes sense in what I'm saying there. It's just the number two it's a number. It's not spelled out with letters. So start2ooze@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Instagram @excusefactory. Drop me a DM if you like the show. If you have suggestions. If you know how I can make my track sound not so shitty without having to buy better equipment, let me know. I'm always down to improve without actually spending money. We're looking at getting a podcast host. I'm no longer paying to put our comic book out anymore. We're going to host that for free on Wix. Details on that to follow. But everybody, thanks for listening to Excuse Factory. This is quite the day. This is 2 episodes recorded. I'm actually recording another episode with Tyler, so we're probably gonna have like a month's worth of stuff. So there won't be any real excuses for a while, and why we're failing and being fall down, rat goof, PC snitch, Trent and Bud. Anyways, people, thanks for listening. Peace, and we're done.
Cool. I'm gonna stop this recording.